All right, everyone. I hope you're all having a great week so far. We are Texas Career Engagement. Thank you for joining us. We are recording this session and we'll make sure to share it afterwards as well, along with the PowerPoint. We'll share information with you. And so we are hearing a little bit of feedback. Lane, are you also hearing that feedback? You are. Okay, do we still hear it? All right. So we are here today presenting our Hooktown EDU Supervising Interns Effectively workshop. And we can move to the next slide. It's myself, Megan Fortson. I'm Assistant Director of Employer Engagement, and Lane Blazevich, and he's the Assistant Director of Internships and Career Experiences. And so today we'll cover who we are, who's Texas Career Engagement. We'll also cover intern recruiting at UT Austin, understanding students, and supervising before, during, and after an internship. And we'll also make sure we have time for some Q&A. So that's the basics on what we're going to cover. And so now I'll just tell you a little bit more about who we are. So Texas Career Engagement originated in 2018 based on the findings of the College to Career Task Force. And this was a group made up of faculty, staff, and students that took a look at what was happening on campus at UT, and particularly in the career space. And so they found that some majors had more access to career resources, experiences, and opportunities, and therefore our office was created. And so we are focused on making sure that students maximize their experience from the moment they become a Longhorn until they graduate, and even as an alum. And we serve undergraduate students and also advanced degree students. And our mission is to provide equitable services to career education, experiences, and opportunities, and just make sure that all students have the same chance of success in their career path. And we also work to provide equitable services to employers to make sure that you have access to diverse talent across the campus. And we do this in partnership with our UT career service partners and beyond. And we developed this Hooktown EDU Employer Education Series to just really make sure that we are providing you with great information to help you enhance your recruiting experience and success campus-wide. So that's the basics of who we are. And so when it comes to internship recruiting, we're just going to do a brief overview, and I'll follow up with more details and links to information. Some of you did join us last time in the How to Build an Internship program workshop. So, and I'll also share a recording to that one too, in case you missed it. But the basics, we are decentralized. We have 15 college-specific career service offices. And then there's us, Texas Career Engagement. So we serve all students and alumni campus-wide. And we manage Hire You Texas Powered by Handshake, which is a campus-wide posting board for students and alumni. So every student, every alumni at UT has access to that posting board. But also with that, a handful of colleges also have exclusive boards. So for example, say you're looking for students with finance skills. Well, then we'd love to have you post in Hire You Texas, because finance skills can be found across the campus with business minors, with economics students. But then we would also advise you to post in Recruitment Combs, the business specific board. So that's just an example. And we can definitely help you get in contact with the boards you need by the skills you're looking for. And then also the employer relations contacts to help you engage in programming. And so when we're looking at internships and improving them in the system, we look at our National Association of Colleges and Employers internship definition. And then we also look at the Department of Labor unpaid internship test. And so we want to make sure the student is in a business atmosphere, supervised by an expert in the field, really experiencing, having this educational experience, which includes mentorship, professional development, resources are provided for them. And that the experience is related to the curriculum that they're studying and the career path and major that they're seeking. And so that is really what makes it an internship rather than a part-time job, is that educational experience related to their major and career path. And with that, we know that we are in a virtual atmosphere right now. So, a professional experience is really provided by shepherding how they're getting information and the communication that you have with them, the projects, the feedback, and Lane will really dive into that and give you some great tips today. And then when we look at the Department of Labor unpaid internship test for folks with unpaid interns, really what sticks out most about that is that it's very transparent. Interns know that they're not being paid. The work that they're doing is not in replacement of a paid position, but rather complementing the work an organization's doing. And so that's just a brief overview. And we will send more details, but we just wanted to share that information. So now I'm going to hand the mic to Lane, and so he can deep dive and share his awesome wisdom with us. Thank you, Lane.
Thank you, Megan. All right, so again, like Megan was saying, those internships that we'll be talking about today are really those high impact learning experiences that students are doing. Those are those specific details that start and end date, those defined learning objectives. They have the experienced supervisor, which is probably why you are all here today, to learn how to supervise effectively, and then providing that routine feedback. A thing to point out that the information we're going to cover today is very general information. So everyone here is from a different size organization, different industries. There's no cookie cutter way to supervise an intern or to have an internship program. So keep that in mind as we're discussing today, what's going to work best for your organization and what supervision practices are going to work best for you and your intern, or if you're going to be training another supervisor, how that might differ from company to company. So wanted to start off with just giving some general information about who are interns, who are college students. A lot of times we might think that college students are a certain demographic, and I found this graphic to be really giving some insight as to who the college student is today. So you can see these stats. These are nationwide stats. A lot of students we see today are financially independent of their parents. A lot of students are also first generation. So this is their first time in college. It's probably also the first time they're going to have some type of professional work experience, which will be that internship. 64% of students are working while they're in college. So you'll see that a lot of your interns might be interning with you and then also have a separate part-time job, maybe in retail or in the food industry. And a lot of those students are student parents. So 24% of today's college student is taking care of a child. So that's a general information about today's college students. The majority of college students though today are in that Gen Z generation. So it's really important to understand what are some key characteristics of that generation. That way you can strategize on how you're going to supervise them effectively. So some common traits, they're very realistic, they're strategic, they value honesty and social responsibility. They like being involved. They want to learn, which is probably why they are doing this internship, because they want to learn new skills. They want to develop their professionalism, and they're open to learning. They want to grow as an individual. They're open to being coached. They prefer in-person communication. I know that that's hard, definitely in this virtual setting, having that in-person communication. But we definitely see when we work with students that they want to meet with us one-on-one, as opposed to a group setting. So keeping that in mind is important before you start supervising, because as the internship program is established in your organization, the real goal for you as an employer would be to create that talent pipeline, to convert those interns into full-time hires. So that's a huge benefit of having interns in your organization, is that it's going to cost less to have interns contribute to the work that your organization is doing as opposed to a full-time hire. But in the end, hopefully having that intern convert to a full-time hire. So as you can see in the class of 2019, close to 69% of interns converted into full-time hires, which is great. Now, those who didn't convert into full-time hires, a lot of issues that they have reported, and also whenever I've met with students, some issues that they've reported about their internship sites to me has been, lack of meaningful work. They might be doing coffee or running errands, and that's definitely not the purpose of an internship. We want students to have those high impact learning practices. So gone are the days where they're just doing errands and making copies or delivering mail. They're contributing to real problems and real projects within your organizations. A lot of them haven't liked the company culture or their supervisor. So hopefully after today, the supervisor issue won't be a thing anymore because you're going to have an effective program for them. And a lot of them indicated that they didn't learn anything useful related to their career. So really making sure that the projects they're getting are meaningful, the experiences they're having are engaging. That way you can have that great return rate and that great branding rate, because students do talk to other students. And if they have a negative experience, more than likely they're going to tell their friends, oh, during my summer internship, I didn't have a great experience here, and then that's going to travel on campus. So hopefully today we will get through everything you need to know, and then it'll all be positive from here on out. So whenever I think about what effective supervision of an intern involves, I come with these 5 points. It definitely involves some planning on your part to make life easier. Training and onboarding, communication is going to be huge in your supervision practices. Feedback, definitely, and then understanding who that student is, what they might be going through, understanding that they're very involved on campus, they're taking full-time classes. So just keeping that in mind. I'd say that supervision practices with an intern are pretty similar to those supervision practices that you would do with a full-time staff member. A little different, but the basis of that supervision is going to be the same. So if you're stressed about it, hopefully you're not after this. And just know that if you've been supervising full-time individuals, internships aren't that much different. So when we talk about what exactly do you need to plan for that intern, thinking about getting everything set up as a checklist before they come on day one. So thinking about their workspace. Is it an in-person internship or is it going to be virtual? If it's in person, making sure that you have their desk set up. If it's virtual or in person, making sure that any equipment they need is set up. So their computer, their phone, any specialty items, any accommodations that student might need, what technology needs to be set up. So making sure that before their first day, they have access to a company email, they have access to any file sharing systems, any account logins that they need, VPNs, making sure that you have a supervisor assigned for that intern, making sure that all of their HR information is ready. Maybe that's going to be part of your onboarding schedule. You definitely need to make that onboarding schedule. That way everything can run smoothly on that first day. And then making sure that you have a project list or a work plan set up. I can't stress enough that planning is going to be so beneficial for supervising your intern. I've supervised an intern before, and it was the first intern I supervised, and I just went in winging it. I was like, I can just tell them day to day what to do, and that did not work out at all. I ended up doing a lot more work and needing to explain more to the intern than I had expected. And every day it was just constantly me trying to think of, okay, what are they going to do today? What instructions do I need to give them today? And it really caused more work for myself and more work for the intern. So throughout this presentation, you're going to hear me say plan, plan, plan. I can't stress it enough, but in the end, it's going to definitely pay off and be a better experience for you as the supervisor and for that intern. A virtual tip for these internships and getting them set up, making sure that if you're going to send them a computer, you do that before, making sure that they have internet access if it's a remote internship, and then emailing them all of the schedules, the information that they need to be successful for that first day. So again, on that first day, if they're going to be coming to your office, make sure that you let them know a start time. Same thing with virtual internships. If they need to log in on a certain time, make sure you communicate that the day before. That way they know exactly when to log onto their computer. If there's a certain dress code that you'd like them to have on that first day, communicate that. Any building access information, parking, really anything that they need to know on that first day. I can guarantee you that more than likely they're going to be nervous. So anything that you can do, any information you can provide to them to make them less nervous is going to be really beneficial. If you do have that onboarding schedule, I would share it with them just so they know what to expect that first day, and they know what that time commitment might be. In that first day or that first week of that internship is the learning time. That's where you're going to welcome that intern, really set the tone for your entire internship program, keeping in mind first impressions. So that first meeting that you'll have with your intern is going to be pretty much when they form an opinion of what this next 10 to 12 weeks is going to look like. It's really important to set those students up for success. Give them all of the information they need in order to be successful. And we'll talk about expectations in a second, but really be available for training to onboard them. And here's a schedule of what that might look like. So in that first week, that first day, it's really a time for them to become familiar with the office, understand your company's mission, vision, values, get access to everything that they need. Again, that schedule is going to be really important. You can do scheduling however you normally do it. If you want to break it up by hours, I'd recommend that. So again, that intern knows exactly what they'll be doing, where they need to be if they're going to be in the office, who they're meeting with, just so that it's a seamless transition on that first day. So as you can see, some goals of the first day, some different tasks that might be associated for yourself as a supervisor, and then also for that intern. So that's that sample schedule, making sure, again, just like a full-time hire, if you were to give them that sample onboarding schedule, they should be able to follow that schedule by themselves and not ask too many questions if it's all laid out in detail for them. So also with that first week is you'll want to create learning goals with your interns. So again, internships are focused on student learning. That's what makes them different from a regular job. So with those learning goals, you should create SMART goals. So thinking about what's specific, what's measurable, what's attainable, what's relevant, what's time-based. I'd encourage you to create these learning goals with your intern. Interns learn first, and then their contributors second. So keep that in mind as we're about to talk about planning for projects. Ask the intern, what do they want to learn? Why are they doing this internship? What skills do they want to develop? What different programs do they want to learn? What do they want to add to their resume? This is going to be a stepping stone for them. So asking them, you might find that a lot of interns are required to create learning goals with their supervisor if they're taking a course for their internship or they're earning course credit for this internship. So be prepared for that there might be some work on your end that you'll have to do, maybe submit these learning goals through email, but it's definitely something that you and the intern should be doing together. So you're all on the same page as you move forward through that process. Those learning goals and those SMART goals, they're going to drive the specific projects that you are going to have that intern doing. So hopefully by now you have an idea of what type of intern that you are wanting to hire. Some common intern areas are data analytics, research, web design, software development, marketing. Students can do a lot of different things. You want to make sure that what they're doing though is meaningful. Again, they're not answering the phone all day. They're not just making copies. They're contributing to work that basically what an entry-level professional in your organization would be doing. When thinking about projects, think about the intern being able to say, I learned this at this company during my internship. What exactly are they learning? What exactly are they doing that's meaningful? How are they contributing to your organization in a bigger sense? So project-based tasks are going to be super beneficial, not only for the intern to work specifically on one or two large projects, but also for you as a supervisor. Like I was saying, you want to avoid making my mistake as going into it every day, thinking about, okay, what can they do today? Having those projects is going to be really beneficial in streamlining the work and cause you to have less work. If possible, try to align those specific projects that your organization has with their learning goals. So maybe a student wants to really refine their Excel knowledge or their Excel capabilities. What data projects are they working on that will allow them to do that? Maybe you don't have a data project, but maybe they want to learn some data foundation skills. How can you incorporate data into a project that you have already laid out for them? So really thinking about what they're going to learn. For those virtual internships, I would recommend being really detailed, specific in any instructions that you're going to have them, especially since that intern won't be next to you in the office and available to ask questions. Really being specific with those details, and also thinking about what project management processes you might have to make sure that intern is staying on track. So a sample intern project we have right here is media placements. So the objective of this is to create a booklet about media product placements to provide clients, maybe in a marketing firm, on where their products are within the media. And then you'll see the specific tasks that are clearly defined. Find those product placements in magazines, newspaper, online, then make sure that you clip those. Each bullet point is giving specific information as to what you're expecting from that project and what they need to do in order for that project. I'll use my example again. I had a social media intern and I told them, post things on Facebook. Well, they needed more information than just post things on Facebook. What did I want them to post? What type of content was relevant to our audience? Where could they find that information? Because they might not know about your organization or they might not know a lot about your industry. So what resources are available for them to learn if you're going to have them create that content? So really being specific and giving those clear instructions. Always encourage them to ask questions, explain how this specific project relates to your organization in a larger sense. How are they contributing to the overall success of your organization or to the overall mission of your organization? Projects can be individual that just one intern works on, or if you have multiple interns, you can definitely do team projects or maybe have interns work on a team with full-time professionals. Really the options are endless, but really making sure that you're providing them the resources they need and the information they need to be successful in that project. So once you have all of that laid out, we can go over some general best practices for supervising those interns. Again, a lot like those full-time hires, and keeping in mind that those students are full-time students. They might be taking anywhere between 12 to 18 credit hours. They might be involved in student organizations. So thinking about that when you're making those projects and thinking about your expectations. So within that first day or those first weeks, I would definitely recommend outlining what expectations you have for that student. So provide any information that you want. So those expectations can cover, how do you want them to call in sick for work? How do you want them to answer questions? Maybe they're going to be involved in meetings with high-level executives. Telling them how you expect them to act in those meetings. You might see that without giving those clear expectations, interns might, for example, in a meeting, give their opinion, which is great. You want them to give their opinion, but if they're in a meeting with the CEO and there's not really time or an opportunity for them to give their input on a project that they might not even know about, then let them, communicate that to them. Tell them you're going to be attending this meeting. You can take notes. It's a great opportunity for you to see firsthand how our meetings run, what an agenda looks like. So just sit back, take notes, and observe. And then that gives a clear expectation of how they're going to be in that meeting and what you expect from them for that meeting. So any expectations, I'd communicate clearly on the first day. Again, it'll save you a lot of headache in the future. Also, best practice, be a resource for them. So those students, again, they want to learn, they're going to ask questions. So be prepared for that. So identify what areas they might be asking questions in and be available for them. That goes on to communication. How do you want them to ask you those questions? Do you want them to email them to you? Do you want them to text you, instant message you, send you a phone call? How can they answer questions, especially in that virtual setting, since they won't be next to you in person to ask questions? What's your preferred method of communication or asking questions? So really being that resource. Setting up meetings is a really great practice for supervising interns so that you can give them that constant feedback. You can answer those questions. I'd recommend having weekly meetings. That way you can ensure progress. You don't want to go 2 weeks, 3 weeks without meeting with your intern. And then on that week 3 meeting, you realize that they've completely been doing the project wrong this entire time. That's just going to cost a lot of time on their part and on your part to refocus the intern and make sure that project is meeting the deadlines and meeting the goals that it initially has. So having those weekly meetings will help hopefully avoid any misunderstandings. Also, supervisors are mentors. So help those students find success. This is more than likely going to be their first professional experience. A lot of times you'll see that this is going to be their first work experience. So they might not know exactly how to send a professional email. So if you see that maybe they're sending unprofessional emails as far as like grammar, or it might be too lazy, I'll use quotes for lazy, in their grammar, communicate that to them, teach them, be a mentor to them. If you see that, maybe they're being too loud in the office or they're not focusing at much, pull them aside and say, hey, you're doing a great job, but I see some areas where you might want to consider this. Or, if your office has a very professional, traditional office environment and those expectations are very clear then of being professional, let them know that, this is our dress code. This is the manner that we hold ourselves in the office. It's not a play area. Or if you have a very relaxed office, you see the intern being super stiff and nervous and afraid to speak up, pull them aside and say, hey, we want you to contribute here. Don't be afraid to go to the snack room and take a snack. Feel free to use the refrigerator, and help them loosen up and become more comfortable based on whichever office environment you have. So yeah, those are just general best practices. Also, some best practices is keeping that intern engaged as their supervisor. So as their supervisor, you're going to be responsible for their experience. So you are kind of like the gatekeeper to how they are going to perceive the organization, what they're going to learn, how they're going to compose themselves in a professional setting. So it's really important that you make sure that they are engaged and they want to learn. So here we're going to just go over some ideas on keeping interns engaged, because again, a lot of interns sometimes say that they're not engaged, that they feel like they're just going to the office, doing their project, and then going back home. Especially in a virtual setting, engagement is going to be huge, so you can maintain that retention and that conversion rate. So thinking about how to engage those students in that virtual setting. So social activities, something that I'm sure you all enjoy. Students definitely enjoy any social activities, gives them opportunities to network and meet other interns. So those might be lunches, they might be coffee chats. Maybe you have different affinity groups that are present in your office, having those interns be able to join a women in tech group or an LGBTQ plus affinity group within your organization, so they can be social and not just working 24/7. So have those social activities. Also networking within your organization, maybe doing informational interviews where A finance intern is able to meet with a marketing professional to talk about what that marketing professional does. A real benefit for internships in a student's perspective is that they're able to explore different career paths. They're able to explore different areas of organizations that they might be interested in. So a lot of times we see business students are interested in a wide variety of business functions. So what are you going to do with that intern to expose them to those different functions? So those informational interviews that maybe you're going to help set up, maybe you're going to let them sit in on a different team's meeting, or maybe you're going to develop projects that the data team and the marketing team work on together. Think about professional development. What skill do those students want to learn? Going back to those learning goals, what do they want to achieve from this internship? And how can you help them achieve that? I'll use the data example again. Maybe they want to learn those data skills. Who in your organization can lead a data presentation, like Data 101? These are the foundational skills for data. And maybe they're a marketing intern, but they're still learning that other specific skill. Maybe they want to learn how to write an agenda. Have them write an agenda for your one-on-one meetings or for the team meeting, really developing whatever skills that they're thinking about or whatever skills you see as their supervisor that they need to develop. Company events, any events that your company is having, invite those interns to it. It's going to keep them engaged. They're going to feel part of the team. They're going to feel included. And that's a huge benefit for their overall perception of their experience. So when you get a meeting invite from maybe your supervisor, or you see a conference that you might be attending, you can ask yourself, would this benefit my intern? Would this be a good opportunity for my intern to learn something? Can they be included in this somehow? And maybe they might not have hands-on inclusion in that meeting or that professional development, but maybe they're able to just observe. A lot of students, you'll be surprised how grateful they are to just be able to observe, because it teaches them so much and they get that inside perspective that they wouldn't have gotten from this internship. Any presentations, have your interns present on a final project. That's a great way to develop their public speaking skills. It's also a great way to incorporate maybe high-level executives into the internship experience, and those interns can present their final findings or their project to those executives, and they get that one-on-one interaction that they might not have had without that presentation. And then any other ideas? So anyone in this session now, if you have any ideas of how you've engaged interns within your organization, feel free to, you can unmute yourself or you can use the chat, so we can all kind of like share our ideas of how to keep those students engaged. I think overall, the general concept of keeping students engaged is making sure that it's fun. Yes, internships are professional. They're great learning experiences. They're going to be great professional development. But at the end of the day, none of us really want to just go to work, do our job, and then go home, not talk to anyone. Some of us might. Some days I'm like that. I want to just do my work, not talk to anyone, and then go home. But from a student's perspective, you'll see a lot of them are eager to engage. They're eager to make those network connections. So really thinking about anything, I would encourage to be creative with it. I've seen employers in virtual internships, want to do coffee chats. And so maybe they send $5 Starbucks gift card to the intern, and that intern can order coffee for their coffee chat with a mid-level executive, or sending Uber Eats gift cards. Basically all of those perks that they would get in the office, just in a virtual setting. So that's another tip we have. Mail any swag items. If you don't have any swag items, that's totally fine, but maybe send them a virtual card welcoming them, or sending them a virtual congratulations, or having someone from a different team reach out and congratulate that intern. Creating social media groups, really just anything and everything, I would say, that you can think of in order to maintain that engagement and to make that intern feel like part of your team, even if they're going to be there for only 10 weeks, it's going to be really beneficial and have a real impact on their overall experience if they feel like they're part of that team. Oh. So moving on from that, you've gone 10 weeks, you've had all of these company events. It's coming time for feedback. So feedback is a huge component of the internship experience. Again, gonna say it, they want to learn, they want that feedback. So definitely providing feedback regularly. It's gonna be the main way that students learn. If you see them constantly submitting something that is incorrect and you're having to go back and fix it, let them know that it's incorrect. Tell them why it's incorrect. Tell them how they can improve it. Because if you don't tell them, they're always just going to continue doing it the way that they've been doing it. Feedback can be in the moment. So maybe you're working with them one-on-one on a project and you see them do something incorrectly, give feedback to them right there. It can also be before every shift. It might be at weekly meetings, whatever you want it to be. It can be informal where it's just a conversation, or if you have a formal feedback form within your office, then you could use that with your interns, but really thinking about how it's a learning opportunity. Feedback provides an opportunity for students to reflect. By students reflecting, we see that they become more self-directed, and that's really beneficial for their overall career development. So when you're giving that feedback, you might ask them, how are things going? So they can reflect on that. How are things going? Do they feel like they're contributing? What's been challenging for them? So maybe they are finding a barrier that's really challenging and you're unaware of it. And they tell you, oh, it's really hard for me to instant message you because I see that you're always offline. And maybe you're not always offline. It's just you have the instant messenger set to offline, but you're at your computer and you might not realize that it's showing that you're offline. By having those reflective questions in your feedback, it's a beneficial way for you to learn how you can help them and what you might be doing incorrectly. Asking them how they're progressing toward their goals, looking back at those learning goals and seeing where they're progressing with that. That's going to be really beneficial in your mid evaluations and your final evaluations. So I would definitely recommend having a formal midway evaluation for your intern, and then also a formal final evaluation. So in that midway evaluation, looking back at those learning goals, where are they in those learning goals? Have they progressed any? What areas of the learning goals do they need to enhance? What learning goals have maybe already been achieved? So thinking about that, celebrate those success, give constructive feedback in areas where they can improve. Again, they want to learn, being that their students, this professional time is really important to them. So don't be afraid to give them that constructive criticism. I would also recommend doing site evaluations. Ask the intern at the end of their time, how did they like their experience? What can you do as an organization for the next intern? If this is your first intern experience hosting an intern, what can you do for the next interns? Where did your current interns see areas for improvement? What did they need? What did they love? What did they not love? And be open to that criticism and that feedback from them, just like they're going to be open to that feedback from you. At the end, making sure that you're maintaining that relationship with that intern. We preach to students all the time to connect with their site supervisors, ask to be a reference. So maybe you can offer to be a reference for any of their future internships or full-time positions, and keeping that professional network open and creative with your intern. Virtual tip for that feedback and those final reflections, I'd avoid giving only email feedback. Take the time to really verbally explain that evaluation and that feedback, just so that intern has a clear understanding of what you're saying. And then it also allows them to ask questions in the moment while you're giving that feedback and doing those final evaluations and giving that reflective. So overall, that is the basis of having an effective supervisory experience for your intern. Again, general, making sure that they're engaged, making sure that you're providing a learning experience, being open and available for them to ask questions, being that mentor, teach them what's something, maybe you're an entry-level person or an entry-level professional that will be supervising these interns. What's something you wish you would have known in college? What do you see the industry moving towards? What do they need to be successful as a professional in this industry? And overall, it's not a stressful thing. So if you're stressed about providing that experience, if you cover these bases, I can guarantee that that intern is going to be appreciative. They're going to find it beneficial. And it's going to be a great experience, not only for them, but for you as the supervisor. So at this point, if you all have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. I haven't been looking at the chat. Awesome.
This has been so great. We had some great sharing in the chat, actually. Healing with Horses Ranch, they give interns a lot of ownership of their projects. They really drive that home. You are in charge. You are leading this project, so that's really cool. And then at Nelnet, they've actually paired interns into pods. So they have more tenured interns with their rookie interns. So that's really cool. So they get to have more frequent communication and time to meet with other students. I love that. And then at Seedling, such a great idea. Their social media intern connected with board members that did social media. So that's huge. They got to network with even more, companies and professionals, and probably, all inspired each other with social media ideas. Yeah, so thank y'all for sharing. Those were great. Oh, and then we have the Smithsonian National Museum of American Indian, and they have intern mentors. That's really great. And scheduling shadowing. That's such a great idea to learn about, different areas of the business. Sometimes students can have such a narrow focus of what they think they want to do, but then there's a function that they didn't even know about, and that's what they really love. So that's huge. And then even the seasoned interns being with the other intern mentors, peer mentors. Yeah, peer mentorship is something we do in career services too, with upperclassmen who have done internship recruiting or full-time recruiting can really help those underclassmen. So that's really cool. And then of course, social events. That's really fun. Thank y'all for sharing those ideas.
Yeah.
And we'll even summarize those and share them again in the follow-up too. That way we have those. And I really liked, Lane, how you brought up sharing feedback with students. I've had a lot of student workers with working in career services, and sometimes there's some difficult conversations, but we have to remind ourselves we're saving them, right? This is their internship. This is where they learn and grow. And that way, when they do have their first full-time job, they'll know, oh, okay, that was something I shouldn't have done. Now I know what to do in that situation. So those difficult conversations are only a huge help for them, and they appreciate it in the future.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, this was so great. Oh, yes. Oh, I think it was my own echo
I'm
again.
sorry. This is Ariana from Healing, of course.
I think we're having some sound.
And I have a question about the SMART goals, and obviously, I might.
Hey, Adriana, I think you were asking a question, but we had some sound issues. So you can always put that in the chat, and then we can talk about that too. Any other questions? Well, we'll just hang out for a few minutes. And, we have shared Lane's contact info and also our employer engagement recruit UT email. So definitely let us know if you have questions that you think of later. If you want to have any, custom conversations about your specific company, your recruiting strategy at UT. We'd love to deep dive in conversations that are, specific to your needs. So let us know. And we really want to focus on student skills versus major. And so we can help you connect across the campus because there's pockets of skills everywhere. And you just really diversify your candidate pool and grow your candidate pool. So we'd love to help you. So thank y'all so much for being here today. And once again, we'll share the recording, the PowerPoint, links to more resources. And we just, hope this was really, beneficial to you, Lane. This was so awesome. Thank you for sharing such great advice. Everyone's going to have the best plan.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks everyone for attending. I appreciate everyone's comments in the chat. Great ideas.
Great. And then I see, and everyone, we're just going to be here for a little bit answering questions. So then I see, what are some people's thoughts on asking about SMART goals and goals alignment in intern interviews? Is that fair, appropriate?
I would say it's appropriate if you're not going to judge them or not extend an offer based on their answer in the interview. So they might say a goal is, oh, I want to, I don't know. They're going to have a lot of goals. So as long as whatever they're saying is as a goal, you don't negatively affect them as far as what that decision is. I think as far as if we're thinking about like biases in the interview process, it might be a good idea not to ask that question, just so you can avoid thinking, oh, this student isn't going to like this internship because it doesn't align with their goals. I think a way you can rephrase that is asking them what their career goals are, or what are they looking for in an internship, as opposed to just like specific goals that they want to achieve, and asking them to write those SMART goals in an internship. So more general will give you a better understanding of where they see their career path going or what they're hoping to get from an internship.
Thank you, Lane.
Of course.
Any other questions? Well, good. Well, I guess we will sign off for the day. And we look forward to working with all of you and recruiting some Longhorns, helping you recruit some Longhorns. Thank you very much. And we'll see you at the next Hooktown EDU. We'll be sending our employer newsletter next week. So that'll come through How Are You Texas? So the contacts we have in there. And so we look forward to seeing you at our Hooktown EDU sessions in November. And you'll receive more information about that next week. Have a good one. Thank you guys. Bye. Thanks, Lane.